Several days ago, Donald Mustard, who was the creative lead and essentially the mastermind behind really the entire story of Fortnite for the better part of 7 years, recently did an interview where, he spoke about his time at Epic Games. And of course, I'll link this interview in the description of the video, but the interview is really telling actually about what's been going on behind the scenes at Epic Games and where the future of Fortnite is actually headed. So today, I wanted to discuss some of the more important bits of this interview and what it means for Fortnite. Let's get into it. So if you're unfamiliar with Mustard at all, he obviously created the entire story of Fortnite, the Seven, the Visitor, the Cube, all that is under his creative lead. So he is massively important to what this game was, and unfortunately, he's not there anymore. He's doing his own production work and whatever. And of course, recently with Fortnite, we've seen kind of a stray away from this storyline driven game and more so just kind of collabs and all that type of stuff, right? And one of the main things that Mustard actually touched on in this interview is the live events, right? And so you have rocket launch, the Cube, Travis Scott, right? Those are all really important live events and all, some of a lot of people, including myself, most fond memories of the game. And he really held those close to his heart. And he said himself that, the event team that he was working with was tasked with working on other stuff unrelated to the story. And he even mentions himself, right, that that's the magic of Fortnite is those live events and those storylines, but he mentions that not everyone at Epic Games actually agrees with that vision and the vision that made Fortnite so popular in the first place. And even just talking personally, I have no idea what's going on in the story. I play this game every day. I've played it for the last 7 years since the day it came out, and I was pretty invested in the story for probably at least up until chapter 3, at the very least. And now it's just a total mess. No one knows what's going on. There really isn't honestly a story anymore besides Peely and Jonesy and that type of stuff. And I actually had mentioned this in a recent video, which I'll link or tag above or whatever, about the metaverse, right? And how I personally did not think and still do not think that that's the right way to take this game. And it seems like Mustard shares that same sentiment, that that's not the way that he at all had planned for this game to go. And in fact, he actually said that Chapter 3, Season 3, that's Vibin', was supposed to be kind of a cultivation of, or almost a celebration of his work and what he did at Fortnite. And that's no surprise because that is really the last time we saw the story being pushed super, super hard. And Mustard himself even talked about Tim Sweeney, he's the CEO of Epic Games, and how, he saw it as, it should push the metaverse and the collaborations and get, kind of dip our toes in as many, areas as possible. But Mustard didn't see it that way. And he had even said in his interview, right, like Spider-Man's, wants to do this and Batman wants to do this and Barbie can hang out with Spider-Man, right? He said those quotes, and he says that he wanted to create something where, all your friends and, and can wear whatever skin they want and can express, to whoever they want to, regardless of whether it's a collab or not. And going back to Sweeney, right, he had kind of seen it as creating these different worlds. And we saw that in the live event recently, a couple months ago now, of all the different worlds in the kind of overarching Fortnite solar system, I'll say, for a lack of a better word, because it was in space, right? So you have Lego Fortnite Festival, rocket racing, and of course there's going to be more in the future. There's no denying that, right? And so, these modes only account for 10%, according to Forbes, of the amount of players in Battle Royale, right? So it does make you think, right? Like, why are we pushing this so hard and pushing this metaverse if, only 10% of the players are actually playing that? The rest are playing the actual Battle Royale mode. I think that's definitely something to keep your eyes on, right? Because I think maybe they thought it would have been more successful than it has been. And of course, they're going to keep releasing stuff but it definitely is something to keep in the back of your head. And interestingly enough, actually, there's a pretty good example of kind of the problem we're seeing post the Donald Mustard era, right? Look, there's a Fortnite festival launch with Billie Eilish and her skin and all that stuff, but it's not a free live concert like we saw with, let's say, Travis Scott or Ariana Grande or Marshmello. It's now a paid-for battle pass grind to earn her skin, and that's it. There is no, concert or whatever. And it's kind of an unfortunate situation, right? Because regardless of whether Mustard is there or not, Fortnite is going to continue to make millions and billions of dollars. Like that's just how it's going to be. Even if people don't like the decisions that were made, the game is so popular and so big, and now it's a platform that people are going to continue to spend money. But what I've seen on Twitter, especially with kind of the whole Fortnite community in general, is that everyone's kind of missing Mustard's tenure, right? The magic that Mustard had, I guess, pushed out to the community in forms of, live events and all that type of stuff is kind of lost, right? With Sweeney and what's going on with pushing the metaverse. And I honestly think that the whole situation in general is really interesting to consider, especially when you're talking about the future of Fortnite, right? Because it seems as though we're not really ever going to return to that storyline based game that we had in years prior, right? Like we have stopped getting live events. I mean, maybe once a year, twice a year if we're lucky, you know what I'm saying? And stuff like that is what made Fortnite special. It really is. Like, and if you didn't play back then, it might be hard to kind of understand, but we were getting daily voice recordings from the 7, and like you actually felt like invested, and what happened in the story affected the actual game that you were playing. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's something that's really special and something that's lost at all. And it adds to the character and the personality almost of the map. And that's really why, for myself at least, I feel like Fortnite's maps have had just a lot less personality to them. Like, besides, put all the nostalgic memories aside, right? Like when you play the old map, you felt attached to it, right? Even the chapter 2 map, I think the chapter 2 map was the same in with the story. But once you get into these chapter 4 and chapter 5, like you don't feel attached to these maps at all. Like I don't care what happens to this map. I really don't. And I feel like a lot of that has to do with there just being no story, right? Like there really isn't any story anymore, and it's really a shame. And I definitely think it's something to consider going forward in terms of what Fortnite is going to look like. Because if we keep pushing the metaverse and keep pushing the collabs instead of forgetting about what made Fortnite, the game that we all love and enjoy, and it's just going to become a problem. And this is something that I spoke about in my last video. You have to stay true to your roots, right? And so, yeah, I mean, all in all, I feel like this situation is just kind of sucky in general, right? Like, nobody wanted Mustard to go. He obviously loved Fortnite and still does, of course. And he pushed the game in the right direction. So, obviously, him being gone, he's been gone for a little bit, but obviously that's a shame. But it's really interesting to hear what's going on behind the scenes at Epic Games and considering it for the future of the game. So yeah, I just wanted to hop on here and kind of talk about this and see what your guys' thoughts on this whole situation are in the comments below. Of course, I will get back to you. I will get down there in the comment section, talk to you guys, have a conversation, all that. But again, if you did enjoy this kind of style of video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.